The city of Newhaven was a labyrinth of smoke and steel, a place where the old world collided with the new. The streets were choked with the acrid scent of coal, and the sky was a perpetual gray canvas streaked with the soot of countless chimneys. Yet amidst the grime and the noise, there was a certain beauty to be found, a strange and haunting allure that drew people in and never let them go. Olivia Reed was a detective, a woman who had seen the worst that Newhaven had to offer. She had witnessed the city's underbelly, its hidden secrets and its darkest corners. She had seen the faces of the innocent, twisted in pain and fear, and she had sworn to herself that she would do everything in her power to bring justice to those who had been wronged. Today, Olivia was on a case that was unlike any she had encountered before. A series of strange disappearances had gripped the city, leaving behind only a single, peculiar clue, a small, intricate clockwork gear. The victims vanished without a trace, their fates as mysterious as the gears themselves. Inspector Harrow, a grizzled veteran of the force, had assigned Olivia to the case, his eyes filled with a mix of skepticism and resignation. He had seen countless cases, countless mysteries, and he had learned to expect the unexpected. But this one, he admitted, was truly baffling. Olivia began her investigation by visiting the crime scenes. Each one was a tableau of desolation, a place where life had been abruptly extinguished. The victims' homes were empty, their belongings untouched. The only sign that they had ever been there was the single clockwork gear, lying on the floor like a discarded toy. As Olivia examined the gears, she noticed a strange pattern. Each one was slightly different from the last. Each one seemed to contain a hidden message. But what that message was, she could not decipher. Frustrated and confused, Olivia sought out the help of Nate Nightshade, a brilliant but eccentric clockwork engineer who lived on the outskirts of the city. Nate was rumored to possess hidden powers, and Olivia hoped that he might be able to shed some light on the mystery of the disappearing gears. When she arrived at Nate's workshop, she was greeted by a cacophony of noise and movement. Gears whirred and clicked, and the air was thick with the smell of oil and grease. Nate himself was a peculiar sight, his hair a wild tangle of curls, his eyes wide and full of a childlike wonder. Olivia explained her case to Nate, and he listened with rapt attention. When she had finished, he nodded slowly and said, "These gears, they are no ordinary gears. They are pieces of a puzzle that leads to something much larger." "What do you mean?" Olivia asked. "I cannot say for certain," Nate replied. "But I believe that these gears are connected to the Clockwork King." The Clockwork King was a shadowy figure who ruled the city from behind the scenes. He was said to possess immense power, a power that was fueled by the intricate network of clockwork mechanisms that underpinned Newhaven's infrastructure. Olivia had heard rumors of the Clockwork King before, but she had never given them much credence. Now, however, she began to wonder if there might be some truth to them. Could the Clockwork King be behind the disappearances? And if so, what was his motive? As Olivia and Nate delved deeper into the investigation, they uncovered a web of deceit and corruption that reached into the highest levels of society. They discovered that the Clockwork King was not just a myth, but a real and powerful entity with a sinister plan that threatened to engulf the city in darkness. They followed the trail of the clockwork gears to a hidden underground chamber beneath the city streets. The air was thick with the smell of burning oil and the echo of distant, rhythmic clanking. It was a place where the city's discarded and forgotten gathered, living in the shadows of the very machines that had cast them out. The chamber was a marvel of engineering, filled with sprawling clockwork contraptions that stretched towards the arched ceiling. In the center, a massive gear wheel, taller than any of the buildings above, dominated the space. It was a heart, beating with a steady, hypnotic rhythm that seemed to pulse through the very air itself. Olivia and Nate moved cautiously, their eyes adjusting to the dim light. They could feel the vibrations of the machinery beneath their feet, a testament to the power that lay hidden beneath Newhaven's gleaming surface. As they approached the gear wheel, They saw that it was inscribed with ancient runes, pulsating with an eerie, blue-green glow. "This is it," Nate murmured, his voice filled with a mix of awe and horror. "This is the heart of the Clockwork King's power. If we can dismantle this, we might just have a chance to stop him." But as they reached out to touch the gear wheel, the chamber sprang to life. Hidden panels slammed shut, trapping them inside, and mechanical guards sprang forth from the shadows. These were not mere clockwork toys, but deadly constructs, their eyes burning with a cold, unfeeling malice. Olivia drew her pistol, her heart racing. "We need to get out of here," she said through gritted teeth. Nate nodded, his eyes focused on the whirring, clicking monstrosities that now blocked their path. "But not before we find out what he's planning." Together, they faced the mechanical horrors, dodging and weaving through the rain of bullets and swinging blades. Each step brought them closer to the truth, and with it, a new understanding of the depth of the Clockwork King's influence. The fight was fierce, the air filled with the acrid scent of burning metal and the screams of the damned. Yet amidst the chaos, Olivia and Nate found a strange sort of rhythm, their movements synchronized as if by some unseen hand. Olivia knew that this was no ordinary battle. They were not just fighting for their lives, they were fighting for the soul of Newhaven itself. The Clockwork King's plan was becoming clearer with every gear they dismantled and every guard they defeated. The stakes were high, and the clock was ticking. As they reached the center of the chamber, the gear wheel loomed before them, spinning faster and faster. Nate searched for a way to shut it down, his hands moving with the precision of a master craftsman. "Hurry," Olivia urged, her eyes never leaving the advancing guards. "Whatever he's planning, it's going to happen soon." Nate nodded, his brow furrowed with concentration. With a final twist, a hidden mechanism clicked into place, and the gear wheel began to slow. The chamber grew still, the only sound the steady tick of the clockwork that had been thrown off kilter by their interference. For a moment, they dared to hope that they had done it, that they had unraveled the mystery and stopped the Clockwork King's nefarious scheme. But as the dust settled, they realized that this was just the beginning. The true battle for the heart of Newhaven was still to come. The gear wheel ground to a halt, and the chamber was plunged into an eerie silence. The mechanical guards froze in place, their lifeless eyes dimming to a dull ember. Nate looked up at Olivia, his chest heaving from the exertion. "We've found his weakness," he panted. "Now we must find him." They hurried through the now-still tunnels, guided by the flickering lights of the stuttering clockwork lamps that lined the walls. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive as they ventured deeper into the bowels of the city. Olivia's instincts screamed at her, warning her that they were being watched. She could feel eyes on them, unseen but ever-present, and the hair on the back of her neck stood on end. Yet she pushed forward, driven by a fierce determination to bring an end to the Clockwork King's reign of terror. As they approached the final chamber, the air grew thick with the scent of ozone, and a crackling energy filled the corridor. The walls were lined with clockwork soldiers, standing at attention, their eyes gleaming in the flickering light. At the far end of the room, a figure sat on a throne of gleaming brass and mahogany, surrounded by a halo of glowing gears. The Clockwork King himself. He was not what Olivia had expected. He was not a man, nor was he a machine. He was something in between, a fusion of flesh and metal, his eyes cold and lifeless as the gears that made up his crown. His fingers drummed a silent tattoo on the armrests of his throne, and the very air around him seemed to vibrate with power. "Welcome, detective," he said, his voice a low, metallic rumble. "You've come farther than any of your predecessors. But alas, it is too late." Olivia's hand tightened on her pistol, and she stepped forward, Nate at her side. "What have you done with the people of this city?" she demanded. The Clockwork King's lips curled into a smile that was more a twitch of metal than a genuine expression. "They have become part of the very fabric of Newhaven. Their essence fuels my power, their fear feeds my dominion." "You monster," Nate spat. "You'll pay for your crimes." The Clockwork King chuckled, a grating sound that echoed through the chamber. "You think you can stop me? I am the city. Without me, it would grind to a halt. I am its heart, its very soul." Olivia felt a fury building inside her, a white-hot rage that threatened to consume her. "We'll tear you apart piece by piece," she swore. The Clockwork King leaned back in his throne, seemingly unfazed. "You may try," he said. "But know this. You are merely pawns in a game far beyond your understanding." With that, the chamber erupted into life once more. The clockwork soldiers sprang into action, their eyes burning with malicious intent. The air was filled with the screech of metal and the clatter of gears as the final battle began. Olivia and Nate stood back to back, pistols blazing. They had come so far, uncovered so much, and now they faced the architect of the city's despair. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew that they had to try. For the sake of Newhaven, and for all those who had been lost to the Clockwork King's madness. The clockwork hordes closed in, and the room was a blur of steel and shadow. But amidst the chaos, Olivia's mind raced. There had to be a way to end this, to save the city from the grip of this monster. And as she ducked and weaved, firing into the oncoming tide, she saw it. A single gear, larger than any she had seen before, nestled in the center of the Clockwork King's chest. It was the key to his power, the source of his control over the city. And it was within her grasp. With a roar, she leaped forward, her pistol smoking, dodging the grasping limbs of the clockwork soldiers. Each shot found its mark, disabling more of the relentless constructs. Her eyes never left the gear in the Clockwork King's chest, her heart pounding like a steam hammer in her ears. Nate kept pace, his own pistol firing in a rapid staccato. His knowledge of the city's inner workings proved invaluable as he directed her to the gear's weak spot, a tiny joint where the steel met the flesh. "Aim for there," he shouted over the din. "It's his control mechanism." Olivia took a deep breath and fired. The shot echoed through the chamber, and the Clockwork King's body jolted as the gear was sent spinning out of control. The clockwork soldiers faltered, their movements erratic. The Clockwork King's smile slipped, and his eyes widened in anger. He surged to his feet, his mechanical limbs moving with unnatural speed. "You dare defy me?" he bellowed, his voice a screech of metal and fury. But Olivia and Nate were ready. They had faced the city's worst and come out the other side, and they weren't about to back down now. With a snarl, she charged the monstrous ruler, her blade flashing in the dim light. Nate followed, his eyes alight with a fierce determination. The battle was a whirlwind of steel and shadow, the clang of swords against armor echoing through the chamber. Olivia felt her muscles scream with fatigue, but she pushed on, driven by the memory of the lives lost to the Clockwork King's tyranny. As the Clockwork King's defenses faltered, Nate saw his chance. He leaped into the fray, his dagger flashing as he sliced through the thick wires that bound the gear to the king's chest. The monster staggered back, roaring in pain. And then, with a final, desperate blow, Olivia plunged her knife into the gear's core. The room shuddered, and the air crackled with energy as the Clockwork King's power surged and winked out. The soldiers fell to the ground, lifeless. The chamber grew still, the only sound the ticking of the gear, slowing to a stop. The Clockwork King slumped to the floor, his body smoking and twitching. His eyes, once cold and lifeless, now held a flicker of something almost human, fear. "It's over," Olivia panted, her chest heaving. "Newhaven is free." Nate nodded, his own breaths coming in gasps. "But we must ensure it stays that way. The gears, they're all over the city. We need to find them to dismantle his control." Olivia offered him a hand. "Together," she said, her voice firm, "we'll rebuild this city from the ashes of his reign." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the weight of the world seemed to lift. They had done the impossible. They had brought down the Clockwork King. But as the dust settled, they knew that their true work was just beginning. Together, they stepped out of the chamber into the cold embrace of the city that awaited them. The streets were quiet, the usual clamor of Newhaven silenced by the recent events. The people they passed looked at them with hope in their eyes, the first glimmer of it in far too long. They had become the heroes the city needed, but the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. The Clockwork King's influence was widespread, and the city would need time to heal. Yet, with each step they took, the future grew a little brighter. Olivia felt a surge of pride, mixed with a touch of trepidation. They had exposed the darkness beneath the gleaming facade of Newhaven, but it was up to them to ensure that it never returned. They walked on, side by side, into the heart of the city they had sworn to protect. The air was still, the streets empty, but in the distance, the bells of 1,000 clocks tolled out the time, a reminder of the delicate balance they had just restored. The silence was eerie, but it was a silence filled with promise. Olivia could feel the city around her, its very essence pulsing with newfound life. The gears hidden throughout the city, once instruments of fear and control, now lay dormant, waiting to be reclaimed by the people they had once enslaved. Newhaven was free, but the battle had left its scars both on the cityscape and on their hearts. As they made their way to the city's center, where the grand clock tower loomed over the rooftops, Nate spoke in a hushed tone. "We must be careful, Olivia. The Clockwork King had many allies, and not all of them will be pleased to see his reign come to an end." Olivia nodded solemnly. "We'll need to dismantle his network piece by piece. Root out the corruption that allowed him to flourish." Her eyes searched the shadows, her instincts sharp as ever. The Clockwork King was defeated, but his legacy remained, a dark stain that would take more than just their valor to erase. The clock tower's doors were open, a silent invitation to the new guardians of the city. They climbed the winding stairs, each step echoing through the vast chamber. At the top, they found themselves face to face with the massive clockwork mechanism that had once been the Clockwork King's eyes and ears. It was a labyrinth of gears and cogs, a testament to his obsession with control. They set to work, dismantling the intricate network, their movements swift and precise. With every gear they removed, the clock tower's hold on the city weakened. Sweat beaded on their brows, and their muscles ached, but they pushed on, driven by the knowledge that their work would bring peace to the streets below. The people of Newhaven watched with bated breath as Olivia and Nate worked tirelessly to dismantle the clockwork tyranny. Slowly but surely, the city began to breathe again, to pulse with the vibrant energy it had once known. But even as the city healed, whispers grew of new threats lurking in the shadows. The Clockwork King had not been the only one to seek power in the chaos of the industrial age. Other factions, some with motives as dark as his own, began to emerge from the underbelly of the city, eager to fill the vacuum left by his fall. Olivia and Nate knew that their work was far from over. They had won a battle, but the war for Newhaven's soul was just beginning. Yet, as they stood on the clock tower's balcony, watching the sun rise over the city they loved, they also knew that they had forged an unbreakable bond. Their partnership, born from the ashes of the old order, was the beacon that would guide them through the trials to come. Together, they had the strength to face whatever dangers awaited them. The city was theirs to protect, and protect it they would, come what may. Their eyes met, and in that moment, they understood each other perfectly. The clockwork gears had brought them together, but it was their shared resolve that would keep them united. The sun painted the sky with hues of gold and pink, and in the dawning light, they swore an oath to stand as guardians of Newhaven, forever vigilant against the shadows that threatened to engulf it once more. And so, the legend of the clockwork detective and the enigmatic engineer grew, a tale of hope and heroism in a city that had almost forgotten what it meant to dream. As the gears of fate turned, they stood ready, their hearts beating in time with the rhythm of the city they had saved. For Newhaven was their home, and its clockwork heart was now theirs to keep. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest stories. Give us a like if you want to see more, and drop a comment below to let us know your thoughts.